Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Vortex, where lies and falsehoods are trapped and exposed. I'm Michael Voris. We don't need anyone to tell us the truth. We know the truth. What we need is for faithful Catholics to stand up and say, no, that's wrong. That's not the truth. All of that is the advice from Bishop Rene Gracita, retired from the Diocese of Corpus Christi, Texas, who has been an eyewitness to the demolition of the faith during his 92 years of life. His Excellency insists that we have more than enough people in the church, he singles out Cardinal Raymond Burke, for example, telling us what the truth is. But the missing ingredient is lay people standing up and calling out leaders who are teaching wrong-headed notions. Last Christmas, Bishop Gracita sat down with our church militant crew and spoke on camera for almost 3 hours about the challenges facing the faithful, potential solutions to the current catastrophe, and reflected in depth on how we arrived at this point. All this week, the Vortex will be bringing you portions of that interview, the complete version of which can be seen by signing up for a 15-day free trial to become a premium member. We invite you to take the time to listen to His Excellency and carefully consider what he is saying. Rarely does a bishop speak as publicly and directly as this. God love you. Do you think there needs to be more effort on the part of faithful Catholics, mostly laity, to keep pointing out, this isn't Catholic, this is going wrong, the education isn't there, there's too many problems in seminary, whatever all of the issues are?
I'll put it negatively. If they don't do it, the church is doomed. I've said over and over again that one of the greatest gifts that John Henry Cardinal Newman gave to my education was when he wrote in the historical tract about the Arian controversy in the 4th century. And Cardinal Newman said that there was a moment in the 4th century when the majority of bishops were either Arian or semi-Arian, and if it wasn't for the Pope and Athanasius, the church would have been ruined. But the Pope and Athanasius enabled at the Council of Nicaea to clearly define the nature of Christ as divine, and that saved the church from total heresy. So it was the census. He wrote that the laity would not hear of the heresy. And in the churches, when an Arian priest or bishop would preach that Jesus Christ was not divine, they would rise up and walk out of the church, or they would shout and create a disturbance in the church. They would shout down the homilist. No, it's not true. It's not true. You're wrong. So it was the sensus fidelium expressed verbally out loud by the faithful in the 4th century that enabled the Pope and Athanasius to save the church from the majority of bishops. That's what Newman says. Newman says the majority of bishops were either Arian heretics or semi-Arian heretics. That's mind-boggling.
Sure.
To think that the majority of the shepherds of the church would be heretics or heretics that's in a semi-heresy is mind-boggling. But that's where we are now. I don't know if it's the majority, but too many bishops have bought into, like, the heresy of the Casper heresy. What is the Casper heresy? The Casper heresy is that the essential attribute of God is mercy.
Yeah.
Now, it's absurd. It is heretical to say that. The essential attribute of God is love. It is love that causes the three persons to be God, Father, Son, and Spirit, not mercy. It is impossible for the Father to have mercy on the Son, or the Son to have mercy on the Holy Spirit, or the Holy Spirit to have mercy on the Father and the Son, because mercy implies sin, guilt. So, We are in a crisis now of this year of mercy. We're in a crisis that is comparable to the Arian heresy, which denied the divinity of Christ. For the Casparites to say that the essential attribute of God is mercy, not love, is an out-and-out heresy.
Yeah, St. John says God is love, not God is mercy.
John says it very plainly. God is love. It doesn't say God is mercy. You got me worked up.
Continue.
I've already burnt my bridges.
No, this is wonderful, Your Excellency, that people can hear all of this. I mean, just that one, I mean, I haven't heard it expressed that way. I mean, that's it. I mean, obviously, as soon as I hear it, I'm like, oh, duh, of course that's true. But it's important that somebody wearing a chain with a zucchetta says this is the truth, so people can hear this.
It's even more important than someone saying this is the truth. We have people saying that. Cardinal Burke, for example. We have people, and Cardinal Pell. You know, they're saying the truth. What's more important at the present moment, in the context of what we were just talking about, is for people in the pew to say, no, that's not true. It's more important for people in the pew to rise up and say in print, in letters, in phone calls, in email, in person, in interviews. It's more important for the laity to say, no, that is not true, than it is for someone like a Burke or a Pell to say this is the truth. The truth, we know what the truth is. It is in the magisterial teachings of Benedict and John Paul II and the preceding popes, Leo XIII, Pius X. These popes have spoken the truth. We know the truth. We don't need to hear someone tell us the truth. What we need to hear more and more of at the present time in the church is for laity to say, no, that's not true. That's not true. Just like in the 4th century, when those people stood up in the church in Egypt and shouted down Arius and said, no, you're wrong. He is divine. He is divine. People to stand up in their churches and say to the priest, homilist, or to the bishop, homilist, no, you're wrong. You cannot give Holy Communion to abortionists or to abortion-promoting legislators or to divorce and remarry. You cannot do it. St. Paul says you do not feed the Eucharist to dogs. Okay, you got me worked up again.
Are there enough laity who understand this to stand up and say this?
We have to help them. That's what Church Militant is doing. You need to help people through the Church Militant to stand up in their pew in their churches and to shout, Father, you're wrong. That's not true. If enough people do that at Mass, when a priest says something from the pulpit like gay marriage is okay, it's okay for two men to enter into marriage, someone needs to stand up in the pew and say, no, you're wrong. Believe me, that'll cause an uproar. The ushers will probably come and get them and usher them out, okay? But it's still the effect has been done. The priest will know better the next time to say from the pulpit that two men can enter into marriage. He'll be apprehensive, he'll be afraid that someone else will stand up and say, no, you're wrong.
What is the single most important thing now? He may have just answered the question, but what is the single most important thing now on a natural level that faithful laity can do, engage in?
I just told you.
Challenge. Resist? Do they need to resist?
Right now, they're suffering in silence, but they need to object. The laity, the sensus fidelium is that common sense among the laity who have accepted the magisterial teaching of the Church, which is the foundation of their faith. Having accepted that, when they hear something which is contradictory to the magisterial teaching of the Church, the sensus fidelium is an impulse which causes them to speak out and say, no, that is not true. Don't say that. You can't say that. Stop. That's the sensus fidelium in action. Not to sit and suffer in silence. Gee, that's crazy. That's weird. That's wrong.
Speak up.
Speak up.
Resist.
Okay.
Object.
Object.